Ladies and gentlemen, today is not just another moment in time. It's a divine appointment with your potential. You didn't come here by accident. You came here because deep down, something inside you refuses to settle, refuses to quit, and refuses to believe that your story ends where your struggle began. You may have faced mountains, storms, and setbacks that tried to break you. But if you're still breathing, if your heart is still beating, then your purpose is still alive. So I invite you, open your heart, silence your doubts, and lean into this moment. Because what you're about to hear is not just a speech, it's a reminder that against all odds, you can still rise. There are moments in life when you look around and feel as though you're missing something vital, something everyone else seems to have. It might be a physical ability, a talent, a supportive family, financial stability, or even confidence. The world is loud in its definitions of worth. It tells you that your value is measured by achievement, beauty, strength, possessions, or perfection, and when you don't measure up to those standards, you begin to question your place, your purpose, even your identity. You scroll through photos and videos, seeing highlight reels of people who look complete, successful, happy. In contrast, you notice the parts of yourself that feel empty or broken. Maybe you've been told you're not enough, not smart enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough. Maybe those words came from others, or maybe they've been playing in your head for years. Either way, they echo through your heart, quietly shaping how you see yourself. But what if those missing pieces don't define you at all? What if the parts of you that feel lacking are not signs of weakness, but invitations to look deeper, past the surface, past the noise, past the lies? There are people who have everything the world says you need, wealth, fame, physical perfection, and yet feel completely lost. On the other hand, there are those who were born with so little, or who have endured unthinkable hardship, and yet they live with joy, with purpose, and with unstoppable courage. How is that possible? Because worth is not about what you possess, it's about who you are at the core. You can't measure love in limbs or titles. You can't measure courage in comfort or convenience. Real strength is born in struggle. Real identity is discovered when everything you used to rely on is stripped away. That's when you uncover the truth. Your soul carries something no one else can carry, a light, a purpose, a fire uniquely yours. So many people waste their lives trying to hide what they lack, covering their insecurities with masks, pretending to be more, to be better, to be someone else entirely. But freedom begins when you stop trying to become someone else and begin embracing who you truly are, even the parts that seem broken or incomplete. What you don't have may shape your story, but it doesn't write your ending. In fact, those very limitations often become the fuel for your greatest impact. The absence of something can create space for something greater to grow: empathy, creativity, resilience, faith. When you show up in the world exactly as you are, authentic, real, vulnerable, you give others permission to do the same, and that changes lives, not because you had everything figured out, but because you didn't let what you lacked stop you from showing up. There will always be voices that try to define you by what's missing. They'll say you can't lead, can't love, can't rise, but you don't have to listen. You don't have to believe them. Your story is already proof that value doesn't come from perfection. It comes from perseverance. From the decision to keep going even when it hurts, from the quiet moments of faith when no one's watching, from the courage to keep choosing life even when you feel unseen. You are not a sum of your flaws. You are not the total of your failures. You are not the reflection of someone else's expectations. Every breath you take is a sign that your presence here matters. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are worthy of the space you occupy. You weren't created to be a copy of someone else. You were crafted for something greater than appearance, approval, or applause, and even in the areas where you feel most lacking, something powerful is being built, something no one else but you can carry into the world. Pain has a way of silencing everything else. When it hits, it consumes the mind and clouds the heart. It can make time feel slower, days heavier, and breaths harder to take. Whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual, pain is something every human being experiences. And in those moments, it feels like nothing good could possibly come from it. It feels unfair, unwanted, and unbearable. But pain also has a mysterious ability. It digs deep. It reaches places comfort never touches. It exposes the truth about who we are, what we believe, and how we choose to respond. While comfort protects, pain transforms. It strips away the surface and reveals the core. Some of the most powerful people in history, the ones who have inspired millions, didn't rise from easy paths. They rose from ashes, they were shaped in shadows, they found their voices in the silence of suffering. What they endured didn't break them, it built them. Their pain became their platform. There's a reason people listen when someone speaks from a place of experience, when they've walked through fire and come out carrying wisdom. Pain gives depth to a message. It brings authenticity to words. You can read about courage in books, but when you meet someone who's lived through heartache and still chooses to love, still chooses to give, that's when you see real courage in action. Pain is a teacher. It teaches patience, empathy, humility. It shows us that life is fragile and moments are precious. It forces us to slow down, to reflect, to let go of things we once thought mattered but no longer do. And in doing that, it clears a path for something new, something purposeful, to grow. There's a unique kind of purpose that comes from deep wounds. It's not the same as a goal or a dream you choose. It's the kind of purpose that chooses you. You didn't ask for the pain, you didn't sign up for it, but once it comes, you're faced with a decision. Let it define you, or let it refine you. When you choose the latter, your pain starts to shift. It may not go away, but it transforms. It becomes the reason you help someone else, the reason you speak when others stay silent, the reason you reach out when you see someone struggling, because you know what it feels like to be in that place. The world doesn't need more perfect people, it needs more healed people, people who have taken their broken pieces and allowed something beautiful to be made from them, people who carry their scars not with shame but with strength. Not as proof of weakness, but as proof that they survived, that they endured, that they overcame. Sometimes the very thing that caused you the most pain becomes the bridge to your greatest impact. The loss you experienced gives you compassion others don't have. The rejection you felt makes you a voice for those still unheard. The weakness you once tried to hide becomes the place where others find hope. Purpose born from pain has power. It's not shallow, it's not temporary. It runs deep because it was forged in the fire, it lasts because it was tested, it carries weight because it cost something. Every tear you've cried, every battle you've fought, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, none of it is wasted. It's shaping something in you that comfort never could. It's preparing you to stand where others fall, to speak when others stay silent, to lift others when they've lost the strength to stand. Pain can break you. But it can also break you open, and when it does, it makes space for purpose to rise from the deepest parts of your soul, not despite the pain, but because of it. Limitations often appear as roadblocks, those moments in life when it feels like something essential is missing. Maybe it's a physical condition, a learning difficulty, a financial struggle, or even a past mistake that won't stop echoing in your mind. Society tends to treat these limitations as permanent disadvantages, labels that define a person's ceiling. And if you listen long enough, you may begin to believe that your limitations are walls you'll never climb over. But what if the very things that seem to hold you back are not walls at all? What if they are platforms, places not of shame, but of elevation? Platforms that force you to rise in ways you never imagined, to develop strength, faith, and creativity that would have never been needed if everything came easily. Limitations bring clarity. They strip away the illusion of control and force a person to dig deeper for solutions. They demand innovation. They challenge identity, but in doing so, they reveal a different kind of power, a power that doesn't come from being the best or the strongest, but from perseverance, humility, and a heart that won't give up. A person who faces limits knows what it means to fight for every inch. They don't take success for granted because they've tasted struggle. They don't boast in what they have, but in what they've overcome. Their victories mean more because they were never guaranteed. When the world expects less from you, when people assume you can't do something because of what you lack, that pressure can feel suffocating. But it's also where the seeds of greatness are often planted. Those assumptions create moments, moments where you can prove not just to others, but to yourself, that you are more than the sum of your limitations. Some of the most impactful people in history faced profound challenges. Their greatness didn't come in spite of their limitations. It came through them. What others called impossible became the very stage where their gifts were revealed. They were forced to find another way, and that other way led to innovation, to influence, and to inspiration. Limitations force you to grow in hidden areas. You may not run the fastest, but you develop patience. You may not speak the loudest, but your words carry weight. You may not have everything others do, but you learn to be resourceful, to trust more deeply, to lean on faith when logic fails. There is something sacred about limitation. It invites divine strength to meet human weakness. It allows for grace to flow in where ego once tried to control. It humbles you in the best way, and from that humility comes wisdom, character, and compassion. A limitation can become your message. It can become your testimony. It can open doors to connect with people who are hurting, who feel overlooked, who think they have nothing to offer. When they see someone rise above their own struggles, not with arrogance, but with quiet, steady strength, they see what's possible for themselves. The limitation that once made you feel less can become the exact reason others look up to you. Not because you became perfect, but because you became resilient, because you turned pain into power, because you stopped seeing your weakness as an anchor and started using it as a foundation. It's not about ignoring reality or pretending challenges don't exist. It's about choosing to see them differently. A platform doesn't need to be flashy or elevated to change lives. Sometimes the most powerful platforms are the silent ones, the steady decisions, the quiet endurance, the unseen battles fought in the dark. In the hands of faith, even the most impossible situations can become scenes of unexpected glory. What others overlook, God often uses. What others dismiss, life transforms, not in spite of the limits, but because of them. There are days when life hits harder than expected. When plans fall apart, people walk away, and everything you hoped for seems to be slipping through your hands. Circumstances can shift quickly without warning. A phone call, a diagnosis, a failure, or a loss can change the entire direction of your life. In those moments, it's easy to feel helpless, like you're at the mercy of forces too big to fight. But there's one thing that always remains within your reach: belief. Belief is not about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending everything is perfect when it's not. True belief looks straight at the storm and still says, "I'm not done yet." It doesn't erase fear, but it speaks louder than fear. It doesn't guarantee an easy path, but it gives you the strength to keep walking, even when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. The power of belief lies in its ability to shape how you respond to what happens around you. Two people can face the same setback. One gives up, the other grows stronger. The difference isn't the situation, it's what they believe about themselves, about life, about the possibility of change. Circumstances are temporary. They shift like the weather. They can be overwhelming one day and lighter the next. But belief is rooted deeper. It's an anchor in chaos, a flame that refuses to go out even when the wind blows hardest. It doesn't depend on everything going right. It grows in the dark where it's tested and proven. Belief is what keeps people standing when there's no logical reason left to stand. It's what allows someone to rise from rock bottom, to try again after repeated failure, to hold on when everything in them wants to let go. It is the quiet force that says, "There's still something more for me. I was made for more than this pain." Sometimes belief starts small. Just a thought, a whisper, one person who tells you it's possible, and then something begins to shift, not immediately on the outside, but deep within. You begin to carry yourself differently. You begin to speak words of hope instead of defeat. You start looking for doors instead of walls. What you believe about yourself will shape every decision you make. If you believe you're worthless, you won't fight for better. If you believe you're stuck, you won't search for solutions. But if you believe you have purpose, even when things are hard, then hard things won't stop you, they'll shape you. History is full of people who changed the world not because they had perfect circumstances, but because they refused to let those circumstances define them. They believed in something higher, stronger, greater than their current reality. They believed their voice mattered, their effort counted, their dreams still had life. Belief empowers you to see beyond what's visible. It sees opportunity where others see failure. It sees strength where others see weakness. It keeps showing up. It keeps giving, loving, building, hoping, especially when the evidence doesn't seem to justify it. That's the kind of belief that changes everything. You may not be able to control what happens to you, but you can choose what happens in you. Belief takes ownership of that choice. It says, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not staying here. I may not have it all figured out, but I'm not quitting. Even when circumstances say no, belief says not yet. Even when the world says impossible, belief whispers keep going. It's quiet, but it's unshakable. It doesn't always roar. It often starts in silence, but once it takes root, it becomes the engine that drives transformation. Everything you build in life begins first in belief. Before the achievement, before the breakthrough, before the change, belief comes first. It's not about being fearless. It's about having something inside you that's stronger than the fear. And once that belief is lit, no circumstance can put it out. There are moments when it feels like everything has come to a halt, when your strength runs dry, when hope feels far, and when the story of your life seems like it's taken a turn you didn't choose. Maybe it's a failure you didn't expect, a loss that left a hole, or a season of silence where nothing seems to move forward. In those places, the temptation is to believe it's over, that your best days are behind you, that there's nothing left to give, nothing more to become. But a pause is not the end. A setback is not the final chapter. Life has a way of testing you with detours, delays, and disappointments, but none of those moments are permanent unless you let them be. The story is still being written. The pen has not been set down. Even in the silence, the page is turning. Rising against all odds doesn't mean pretending the pain isn't real. It means refusing to let the pain define the rest of your life. It's standing back up when the weight of failure tries to keep you on the ground. It's choosing to breathe deep and take one more step, even if your heart is heavy with doubt. Rising is rarely loud. Sometimes it's a whisper. Sometimes it's just the decision not to give up today. Every great story has moments of crisis, scenes where it looks like all is lost, but those are the moments that shape the hero. They are the turning points, the pressure that brings out the fire. Without the struggle, there's no strength. Without the dark, the light isn't seen as clearly, and your story, no matter how broken it feels right now, still has purpose waiting in the pages ahead. The world is full of people who stopped too soon, who walked away right before the breakthrough, who gave in just before the healing, who let discouragement write their ending. But there are also those who chose to rise again, and everything changed after that decision. Not because it got easier right away, but because they stopped waiting for perfect conditions and started walking forward in faith. You may not see the full picture right now, but that doesn't mean it's not being painted. You may not feel strong, but that doesn't mean strength isn't growing in you. Sometimes it's the quiet fight, the choice to keep showing up, that becomes the most powerful part of your journey. It's in those moments that the future begins to shift, when the impossible starts to bend, not because of the odds, but because of your will to keep moving anyway. You are more than the worst thing that's happened to you. You are more than the moment that broke your heart. You are more than the chapter that hurt the most. Those pages may shape you, but they don't get to define your whole story. There is still breath in your lungs. There is still fire in your soul. That means your story is not done. You weren't created to live in the shadows of what could have been. You were made to rise, not in perfection, but in persistence, not in ease, but in courage. Rising doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's wiping the tears and standing up again. Sometimes it's choosing to believe just for one more day that this isn't the end. Your scars are not signs of failure. They're signs that you've survived what was meant to destroy you. They're proof that you're still here, still fighting, still breathing, and that means you still have something to give, something to build, something to become. Your story isn't finished, not even close. The next chapter could be the one that changes everything. Thank you for walking this journey of words with me. Maybe you came here carrying silent battles, questions heavy in your heart, or dreams that felt buried beneath the weight of your past. But let this be your reminder. You are not forgotten, and your story is far from finished. You were not created by accident. The breath in your lungs is proof that there is still purpose flowing through your life. You may have faced loss, rejection, failure, or fear, but none of these have the authority to define you. What defines you is the choice to rise, to believe again, to move forward when the world tells you to stop. Your limitations are not your prison. They are platforms from which light can shine even brighter. Your pain is not wasted. It is being shaped into purpose that will touch lives beyond your own. Your belief has the power to shift your reality, and your willingness to rise, against all odds, is what makes your journey holy. So lift your head, embrace who you are, where you've been, and what still lies ahead. You are not the exception to hope, you are the example of it, and the world needs your light now more than ever. Thank you for listening. May your heart be strengthened, your spirit reawakened, and your steps made bold. You are not alone, you are not done, and you are already more than enough. God bless you. Keep rising, keep believing, keep walking. Your story matters. Thank you.